At the moment of the activation of the nuclear weapon 10K, Doc and Roberta escape the explosion by hiding in a tunnel. All this is happening while Citizen Z is dealing with the problem of capturing the Northern Light listening post by zombies, revived soldiers who died during the unsuccessful evacuation of the post. They were thawed by a thermonuclear missile strike, which failed thanks to the missile defense system protecting the listening post. He subdues them, and then sends an emergency message in which he asks everyone who is listening to be on the lookout and look for Murphy and, as an additional incentive, announces that the Center for Disease Control will be handing out medications and big rewards for Murphy's safe delivery. Mac drives up on his ATV and sees Eddie killing the last revived member of the Sisters of Mercy. Eddie explains to him that Sam is a child who was expelled from the camp on his 13th birthday, returned, burned the camp to the ground and released a zombie bear. Together they go on a search. They decide to inform the others that they are alive, but as a result of the interception for the transmission, it turns out that the whole world is now looking for Murphy, as well as a reward for his capture and escort to the laboratory. Eddie suddenly accepts a strange digital code on his radio, repeating it with excess. Murphy, meanwhile, is peeling off his decaying skin and now has a pretty shiny silver color. He also has his own zombie squad, and they've all gone looting in a clothing store when he runs into a survivor who wants to take him prisoner for a reward. However, the plan is foiled when Cassandra appears and kills him. Cassandra, like Murphy, is half zombie, half human. Murphy tells Cassandra not to give the man any mercy and turns him into her personal zombie assistant. Meanwhile, Roberta begins to have a breakdown, as she went alone in search of help for 10K and the injured Doc. Before she commits suicide, rather than dying of hunger, thirst or radiation, she hears a sound with which a large number of zombies attack the girl. She saves the girl and gets into the family. They give her water ammunition and she meets up with Doc, 10K, Mac and Eddie, who have reunited. The group travels to Cheyenne, Wyoming, where they find Murphy running a zombie strip club. Roberta demands that he accompany them to California, but instead Murphy shows them zombie strippers. Suddenly, when bounty hunter Vasquez arrives to pick up Murphy, pandemonium ensues, and Murphy and Cassandra are shunned. As a result, Roberta and the gang decide to find Murphy and bring him to California, and Citizen Z goes in search of help. Meanwhile, Serena, a member of the Sisters of Mercy who had sexual relations with Murphy, is now pregnant. She wanders the countryside with her child in search of Murphy. When the team continues to try to get Murphy out of Cheyenne to the Center for Disease Control, bounty hunters appear in the city, among them a formally dressed Hispanic man with a rocket launcher. Cassandra is still running around in a swimsuit and fur coat and seems to have started attacking people like zombies do. A Mexican with a rocket launcher shoots at a 10-year-old, who falls and hits his head. He returns from the other world, but temporarily becomes deaf. He and Doc run together in search of Murphy, who used his psychokinetic abilities to convince a zombie about his size and build to change clothes and become a bait. When Vasquez tracks down the bait, he is attacked by Cassandra. While Doc is trying to protect 10K, he is confronted by a sniper and ends up suffocating almost to death in a hotel room. Doc almost dies as his spirit hovers over his body, but he notices a small dagger and uses it to kill the man who strangled him. Citizen Z is being chased by a crowd of zombie soldiers at the North Pole, but despite the fact that an incident from his past flashed before his eyes, Citizen Z pulls through. Roberta is rescued from a bounty hunter by Vasquez, but not before she sees a vision from her past of how she nearly drowned in the pool. Murphy, tired of all this and just wanting to stop running around, jumps from the roof of the hotel and falls into a pool filled with zombies. Eddie desperately tries to rescue Mac from the zombie-infested stairs, but she's too late. Mac turns into a zombie, and Eddie finishes him off. A man in a suit shows that he has the letter Z tattooed on his arm. Eddie rejoins the team, expresses his anger and sadness by using Murphy as a punching bag, and everyone decides to head west as soon as possible. As the radiation clouds build up, the team has to come up with a new plan to get to California. However, there are several new reasons for concern. Cassandra seems to be having a really hard time in her new life as an almost zombie. A new breed of zombie has appeared. A train of survivors and several new bounty hunters appeared out of nowhere. The qualcade of cars belongs to a man named Samuel Custer, who leads his people to Edmonton, Canada. It's cold out there, and zombies don't like it. But they have a long way to go, and they are in an area that is flooded with mega-zombie blasters that died during nuclear explosions. When the team decides to compare their strength with the convoy, a cute simpleton named Raking Ball takes Murphy and Doc aside and forces them to get stoned for tweet herbs made from zombie corpses as compost. When Custer arrests them, Murphy has to ride in a medical van with people dying from radiation poisoning or, as Eddie and Roberto call it, a zombie bomb waiting to explode. When Murphy gets Cassandra hooked on the Z-grass, she becomes a little more spastic than we've seen her in the recent past, albeit a little more consistent. When the convoy is attacked by a group of bounty hunters, Roberto and Vasquez find out that they make a good team, and Cassandra saves Doc and the Wrecking Ball by jumping on the hood of the car and chewing off the guy's face. This gives Doc and Wrecking Ball enough time to escape, but their cars are successfully hijacked and take away the entire supply of water for the convoy. The team manages to catch up with a car with water and a bloodied Cassandra, who quickly dealt with the hijackers, although Murphy manages to steal the car himself, accompanied by Cassandra and the Wrecking Ball. Then, as predicted, the medical van turns into a zombie garden, where one guy dies, attacks another, and so on, until Eddie finds herself between ordinary Z's and terrifying blasters coming at her from the road. Eddie saves 10 in time when Roberto leads the team through a barricade of blasters and safely leaves the column. Sam Custer, who was slowly but surely losing his mind due to exposure to radiation, was unlucky. The blaster ate his face.
I've never jumped from a moving car, and today boom for the second time.
Murphy, Cassandra, and their new buddy Wrecking Ball head to a lab in Minneapolis where they grow Z-grass.
Watching.
Minneapolis is 80 miles away, and the team goes in search of Murphy. In search of grass, Z, Murphy and Cassandra, without a destructive ball, for some unknown reason, come to a laboratory in Minnesota, where they find a group of survivors desperately trying to get Bach-47, a supposed herbal vaccine against the zombie virus. Unfortunately, the greenhouses in which this batch of 47 is located are overflowing with zombies and, even worse, phytozombie, half-plants, half-hybrids of zombies. Murphy finds the main one, Adegard, just at the moment when the lab workers are going to send new harvesters to the greenhouse to collect this mysterious batch of 47. And then Dr. Walter Curran appears, the villain from the first season finale who created the Zen 1 virus and may be responsible for the outbreak of the zombie virus in the first place. The side of his face is badly burned. Meanwhile, Operation Bitamark, chasing Murphy, rolled up to the lab and began to prowl around. They find a blonde woman with a little girl, and it turns out that this is their type of people. A woman is raising a child who is not her own, because her real mother died. The problem is that the girl is very sick, and she keeps asking the blonde not to let her turn into a zombie. Murphy can feel the pain of zombie plants, a psychic connection that seems to work both ways. He manages to get a sample of the 47th batch for the good doctor from the laboratory, and they try it on several zombies who have turned into heads in cans. At this time, Eddie contacts Citizen Z, who gives her the new coordinates of the Center for Disease Control in California. The number she writes down was also seen by Dr. Curran. The team is tasked with helping collect the remaining seed pits to make more herbal zombie vaccine. They exchange weapons for gardening tools to protect themselves from phytozombies, and go to the greenhouse, where they meet with the terrifying leader Phytos. Green, shaggy, covered with vines and having a strong psychic connection with Murphy. Murphy runs away and runs into Dr. Curran, who tells him that the only hope of the world is people like Murphy, half humans, half zombies. A scorpion heads a cartel known as the Zeros, which explains the tattoo of Z on his arm. They are engaged in the distribution of Z-grass. When the laboratory doctor protests against the order to stop all experiments of batch 47, Hector unexpectedly insists on human trials. Moreover, the subject becomes an unwilling Adegard, who turns, and the scorpion shoots him in the head when Murphy tries to free all the phytozombie in a giant horror store. They suddenly attack him, and the team has to fight for their lives. When they manage to kill the leader of the phytozombie, Murphy is very upset. Finally, Doc finds the little girl and her non-mother in the barn and gives the leaves to the party of 47, which the girl lives before dying. The episode ends when Serena, a pregnant woman wandering in search of Murphy, meets the group. Making their way across the USA, the group ends up in the great state of Wisconsin, where the team encounters a parade celebrating cheese infected with zombies. There are too many zombies for Murphy to control, so it's better for everyone to just run, taking the siren in tow. It should be noted that the siren can give birth to an evil zombie child from Murphy at any moment. Roberto improves the moment to roll a giant cheese wheel around the city, and the team watches in awe as it picks up zombies in its giant cheese paws. When the team comes under fire, they go to the local Mennonite community at the suggestion of Vasquez, who seems to be developing some kind of plan by eavesdropping on the conversations of the Zeras cartel. After 10 saves several Mennonites from a rather scary zombie, and zombie sheep, he is sprayed with a mysterious white substance, which, as it turns out later, is anthrax. When other zombie Mennonites attack, Doc and Eddie are also sprayed with anthrax. Despite the fact that the Doc has received immunity from many diseases, it's still not good, anyway. When 10 loses consciousness, the team learns that the Mennonites have stocked up on an antibiotic called Cypro. Although he can save 10, he is not enough, so Eddie Vasquez and a young member of the community go to the nearest town, kill a drug addict and discover that there are no more antibiotics for miles. At this time, the siren began to have contractions in the barn. Everyone is trying to help her, but she is not a very good patient, and the child himself is clearly a special case. When Eddie falls from anthrax infection and the team faces a question. To save her and 10K or watch them slowly die along with the other Mennonites, Roberta makes a decision: they steal the figure, apologize to the community and leave the city. When the siren gives birth to a baby, the zombie comes on call, as the baby in diapers is something like a messiah for them, complete with a single star above the barn in which she was born.
Congratulations, Daddy.
Eventually Z is attacked by the siren and becomes enraged when Murphy runs away with his daughter, whom he named Lucy. Roberta finishes off the siren as a sign of mercy, and with the help of antibiotics, 10K and Edie seem to be on the mend. Lucy, the first of her kind.
She's beautiful.
In Springfield, Illinois, our team of heroes is fighting a group of zombies by Abe Lincoln, and Murphy and Cassandra are doing everything possible to save the world with their magical zombie abilities. A lot is at stake, because the zombie baby Lucy has no mother, he ate only sugar water, and no one knows what to do with it. As Tenka continues to worry about Cassandra, he also begins to worry about what Vasquez is up to. Roberto decides to find out what Vasquez is up to and leaves the team. Eddie, Doc and Tenka offer to take care of Lucy for a while to give Murphy a break, but the zombie baby's dad tells them that he doesn't trust them. He goes into the woods with his daughter and leaves Cassandra to look after the team, ordering her to make sure that no one leaves. Roberto catches up with Vasquez and finds out that he has zero problems with the cartel. As a result of the shootout, many cartel members turn into zombies, and Vasquez and Roberta are injured. In search of a place to patch up the wounds, they go to a local hospital, where we learn the background of Vasquez. He was Dee's agent, forced to work for the Naughties after they kidnapped his wife and child and said they would slowly kill them if he didn't. Instead, a rival cartel member said he would kill them quickly, but Vasquez would belong to him. In order to pardon his wife and daughter, Vasquez was forced to work for them, and just at the moment when Vasquez tells about it, his pulse stops. Roberto prepares to finish him off, but he wakes up in time. Meanwhile, the team decides to confuse Cassandra by running away in 3 different directions, hoping that she will chase one of them while the other 2 are looking for Murphy and Lucy. It doesn't quite work. Cassandra makes a tactical decision to pursue Eddie, as a result of which 10K find themselves in a difficult situation and are forced to rescue her. However, when 10 tries to have a heart-to-heart conversation, it goes rather unsuccessfully. Doc Eddie manages to escape, leaving this former aspiring couple to fight for power. Murphy stumbles upon a house in the woods, where he asks a heavily armed couple to take Lucy and raise her as their own. Everyone seems to agree with this plan until the potential adoptive parents see the little monster, which prompts them to tell the zombie baby's daddy to take his child and go home. 10K is forced to kill Cassandra to save his own life. The situation becomes tense when Murphy tells 10 that he had no right to kill Cassandra, and Roberta asks where the child is. It turns out that Murphy bit this cute couple right in the face and left Lucy to be raised by them, knowing that they would become half humans, half zombies. A dental van pulls up to two people on a hill, and the dentist offers them his services. Two men are put to sleep, after which they are thrown into the back of a van, which quickly leaves. Then 10K and the gang continue on their way. They stumble upon familiar places in Mississippi, kill a few zombies and continue on their way. They seize the boat and take its owner hostage. As the boat sails on, the group meets two old friends. Sketches from Kessie.
What happened to him?
I haven't contacted everyone.
Moments later, they join the others in a new boat. Skeezy explains that the couple looted Graceland and stole some Elvis paraphernalia. The couple explains how they managed to avoid danger by pretending to be Murphy. Suffice it to say that Murphy is not thrilled with their statements. Vasquez gets fed up with their lies and threatens to throw them both in jail, but Doc managed to dissuade him from this decision. The boat collides with a huge horde of zombies, and the group gets into trouble. 10 is forced to leave the boat and swim to the shore. He turns out to be alone. He regroups from the sketch, which confirms that he left with Kessie in the same place with the boat, and the rest continued to sail west. The couple finds Skeezy and, thinking he is a zombie, almost kills him. Where I just fell into a hole. 10K is forced to join them for a while Doc and the others shout from the other shore.
And what, we just leave him?
Hey, hey.
We won't leave him.
10K and his group come across several armed men.
Guys, sorry to disappoint.
As he said, where are you in a hurry? Sketchy tries to talk them out of trouble by pretending that it's Murphy with Kessie. Sketches manages to persuade the men to be bitten with Kessie so that they become immortal.
Don't move, Dale. I was healed.
All men are bitten, but Sketches gets caught stealing and spoils the whole plan. Doc continues to persuade the group to look for 10K. Vasquez insists that he is not going to put Murphy in danger for this particular reason. Roberta manages to calm Doc down, and he agrees to look for 10 in the morning. As it turns out, Doc was right all this time and tried 10 times to signal the group with a flare. In the morning, 10K and his group stumble upon a dentistry van and steal it. On the way they are stopped by a gentleman in a suit. Zombies run out of the dental van and immediately get into the cage. Tyler introduces himself to the group and declares that the city belongs to him. Tyler explains how he uses zombies to work for the residents of the city. We catch them, tame them and turn them into labor.
A visionary person.
After offering women and alcohol, Sketchy decides that the group should stay. Enjoy moonshine and women. We have plenty of both. Meanwhile, Doc discovers a kayak and thinks about crossing the river.
We care about each other, that's why we're still alive.
Murphy tries to dissuade the group from going for 10K. He plays the Cassandra card and insists that 10K is a kid who kills everyone he doesn't understand. Doc leaves the group and goes in search of 10K, returning to Tyler. 10K and the others have a great time. "10K follows the girl aside and a gun is pointed at him. He explains the situation and admits that he is not mute. The girl talks about her ex-husband and admits that he transformed and began working for Tyler. The woman admits that she came to kill her husband and burn down the city. There is a real dentist, and the trio finds themselves in an awkward position. A moment later, Scorpio and his team pay a visit. A mock trial is taking place in the city, and 10K and his new friends act as defendants.
These idiots are accused of grand theft.
Sketchy finds the group guilty and then tries to explain his arguments. He makes the city get hot, after which a new friend of 10 nods to him.
To demonstrate how the accusers are trying to slander me.
Objection.
Stop interrupting.
Roberta and the team reach the bridge and discover the car. Eddie tries to find Doc, and she succeeds. Sketchy continues to suck up to the residents of the city and he manages to break the applause.
If it doesn't add up, you need to justify it. Yes.
Unfortunately, people bitten by snakes arrive in the city and accuse the group of theft. The Scorpion sentences the group to execution.
Death. By hanging.
Doc is depressed, but forces the group to wait a little longer to wait for 10K. Eddie convinces him that they need to move on, and he sadly agrees.
I'm sorry, Doc, but he knew what he was signing up for.
A new friend of 10K stays just in time and does not let the group leave. Back in the city, 10K and the rest are put on nooses around their necks.
These people are guilty of serious crimes.
Tyler reads a prayer for the men, after which they are given the opportunity to say their last words.
Last words? Yes.
I want to thank Mom and Dad. Eddie and Doc manage to remove the ropes from 10K and Sketchy, but with Cassie still hanging. With Murphy's help, the zombies break free, and the residents of the city flee. Sketches is propped up with Cassie so that he can breathe. Eddie manages to shoot the rope, after which the group leaves. A friend of 10 kills her husband and offers him mercy. Despite 10K's offer, the Sketches from Cassie stay behind to steal guns from the dentist's van. Zombies are coming and the group has to leave them and leave. Sketches plan their next trip before getting out of the van.
I've been thinking.
Again.
Where to next? Or maybe in Australia.
The team is sorting through their stuff. When Doc checks Murphy, Murphy dreams of Doc's brain. Murphy wanders into the woods and falls into a zombie trap. He's not alone. Murphy shouts, calls the others, but it doesn't help. Roberta and the team go hunting, and Murphy trains his new colleague. A man dressed in heavy clothes, a collector, enters and tries to grab Murphy, but his new zombie friend protects him. Unfortunately, the collector wins by stabbing him in the neck. When the others return to the car, they discover that Murphy is still missing. Murphy wakes up and finds himself tied to a gurney. He watches as a collector cuts the scalp off his friend and extracts his brain. Murphy manages to get water from a man who seems to have thoroughly intrigued Murphy. The collector takes out a dictaphone and turns on Citizen Z's story about Murphy. The collector confirms this story by examining Murphy's body. The man tortures Murphy, insisting that the staff of the Center for Disease Control are idiots. He shows Murphy a large collection of letters that he has sent to the Centers for Disease Control over the years. When Murphy begins to sympathize with the man's hatred of the Center for Disease Control, he is unleashed, and the couple talks about Comic-Con. The couple visits the Zombie Collector's Museum. Murphy continues to suck up to the man and tries to gain his trust. They finally get to Dawn of the Dead, and the collector doesn't seem to like Murphy's interpretation of the film. He gives Murphy a good electric shock to shut him up.
And so on.
Murphy complains about the filth of the apocalypse and is surprised to take a shower from his new friend. Meanwhile, 10K and the others continue their hunt. After getting out of the shower, Murphy changes into new clothes. He finds a collector fighting zombies. He tries to escape, but he was shot and quickly captured. The arrow takes its toll, and Murphy becomes sleepy, and his new friend quickly becomes enraged. The collector records the Death Leaf TV show with Murphy. He takes a sample of Murphy's DNA and blood plasma. He also takes out a huge needle and prepares to take a bone marrow sample.
What's that for? This is a 15-centimeter needle.
Doc and Eddie encounter several zombies during their hunt. Meanwhile, the collector asks Murphy about his encounter that turned him into a zombie. Murphy confirms his promise to the CDC doctor that he will kill him.
I'll find you. I'll find you and eat your brains.
Moments later, the collector takes out the brain and forces Murphy to eat it. A reaction takes place in Murphy's brain, and he devours the brain. The collector tries to figure out what happens when Murphy bites a person, and then moves on to the question of Murphy's connection with others. Murphy talks about his daughter, after which the collector leaves with a sample. A zombie is approaching and Murphy sees an opportunity to escape.
Concentrate.
Unfortunately, the collector returns too soon and discovers Murphy's mind control abilities. Vasquez and the others continue to hunt for Murphy. The group decides to split up. The collector then shows Murphy his zombie collection.
This one was smart. Probably was not far from the atomic explosion.
A collector shows off his famous zombie George Martin. Despite the collector's praise, Murphy insists she has no idea who this person is because she has never watched HBO. Murphy grabs the book and slaps the collector. On his way out, he discovers a throne on which he must sit forever. The collector grabs the shock collar controller and continues the pursuit. Murphy gets to the front doors, which turn out to be locked. Murphy demands that the collector open the door. He opens, but Murphy gets a strong electric shock and falls to the ground. 10K follows the zombies, and the collector comes to realize that he has been betrayed.
I was too kind and you were too dangerous, so you left me no choice.
He decides that he will drink Murphy's blood and freeze it. The zombie, followed by 10K, appears outside the door. 10K stays, and the collector orders Murphy to be quiet. When he is interrogated, the collector says 10 times that he did not see anyone. 10K is about to leave, but he remains suspicious.
I almost killed your friend. Don't be embarrassed, Murphy.
He makes his way inside the building and begins to look around. 10K discovers the collector's museum and finds Murphy on his throne. The collector sneaks up behind 10K and shocks him. The collector tries to convince Murphy to bite 10K.
I want to watch you bite a man. Stop lying.
Outside, the others meet in the public library. They hear a shot and follow the sound. Eddie finds a 10K gun, after which they prepare to get inside the building. The collector instructs Murphy to bite 9K on the chest. Instead, the collector gets distracted, and Murphy uses this opportunity to attack him along with other zombies.
Look at me.
The weakened Murphy is taken out in a wheelchair. Without Murphy's guidance, the rest of the zombies turn against 10K. Meanwhile, the others are making their way inside the complex. The rest stay on time and kill zombies.
Oh, look who's still alive.
Can you hear me?
He's fine, everything's going to be fine.
Eventually they return to the car and remove Murphy's shock collar. Murphy makes Roberta promise that she won't leave him alone when they arrive in California.
Let's go.
A frightened woman runs away from a zombie. Ray's Nalo goes down and dismembers the zombie, then takes the woman. Roberta and the others follow the same road. It seems that the alien has targeted them as well. A few moments later, the car stalls, and a strange transmission is transmitted on the radio. Murphy and 10 argue whether it could be aliens, and Doc admits that he is scared. Suddenly a ray of light sweeps across the sky and scares everyone. After a few seconds, the car starts up again and the team starts moving again. Eddie and Vasquez wonder what they saw until Roberta tells them a story about her father and his strange encounter with an unidentified flying object. At the end of the story, we see that the group is entering Roswell. The next day, the group continues to try to find out exactly what they saw. After searching around a bit, they discover a potential UFO crash site. Despite the fears of the others, Roberta insists that they should continue on their way to Roswell. A few seconds later, they have to kill several zombies. After destroying the zombies, the group continues on its way and stops at a restaurant stylized by UFOs. The restaurant appears to have been used as a shelter by other survivors. As soon as Murphy and the others enter the restaurant, they are attacked by Roy, who wants to educate them about the outcome. He enthusiastically insists that they got here thanks to some magical source. Roy is also convinced that they will be the first humans to explore alien worlds. He tells a group of Bernadettes who allegedly communicated with the aliens telepathically. A moment later, Bernadette appears and looks around the group. She insists that Murphy will be able to help them move into the next reality. While 10K stays outside and kills zombies, the rest enjoy the chicken. Roberto admits that they will continue to let them consider Murphy their savior until they stop supplying them with food. A few moments later, they are joined by a strange man Scully. He admits that he also does not believe in the nonsense about the exodus of aliens. Everyone agrees that these people are crazy. Scully suggests they tell them what's really going on. He says that the aliens are already here and have been here for thousands of years. He also launches into a lengthy argument that aliens are responsible for zombies. Before leaving, he tells them to go away and not pay attention to what Bernadette says. 10K enters and joins the group, after which he tells them about the nearby Air Force base. Despite Murphy's concerns, the others seem interested in flying to California. Bernadette sneaks up on everyone and agrees to show them the base. She admits that she often visits the base and that it was from this base that she talked to the aliens. On the way to the base, the group stumbles upon a zombie, in whose body a triangle is perfectly carved. They enter the territory of the airbase and begin to search it. When the walkie-talkie doesn't work, Bernadette leads them deep into the base, after which they are attacked by zombies. Roberta and Eddie destroy the zombies and they continue on their way. Meanwhile, 10K and Doc discover a welcome sign. Bernadette admits that she made the sign. 10 asks questions about top-secret zones and wonders if Bernadette is hiding something from them. She admits that this is true and that the voices are telling her that only Murphy is allowed to enter these restricted areas. She also says that the voices are doing repairs and will pick her up soon. We also see that Bernadette is the woman from the beginning of the episode who was saved from zombies. She agrees to lead the others to the place where she met the zombies, and they begin to follow her. They find themselves in a strange room that has a super strong magnetic attraction. Doc follows Bernadette's instructions and manages to send the room underground. Eventually it breaks off and the group falls to the floor. The door opens and the group begins to slowly enter inside. The door slams shut behind them and locks. They're wondering if they really want to find out what's down here. Bernadette rushes forward, and they have no choice but to follow her. The group stumbles upon an alien. Despite Bernadette's reassurance, Murphy insists that something is wrong. The alien rises from the ground and begins to approach, while the group fires bullets in his direction. 10K manages to hit him right in the eye. A moment later, the alien's body explodes. They go further and find an interactive high-tech console. Eddie is trying to use the radio system to talk to Citizen Z. Meanwhile, Robert Vasquez, Bernadette and 10K continue to hunt in the building. They discover a door torn off its hinges, after which Bernadette disappears and appears in front of them. The bodies of several men in black are lying on the floor. 10K examines one of their weapons, and it turns out that it has run out of charge. Then they discover a capsule that has been opened. Meanwhile, Eddie discovers a lot of videos and photos of aliens. She also finds Bernadette's picture on the screen. Videos of Doc and Murphy also appear on the screen. She discovers the word zone, which she believes is their home planet. Meanwhile, the others discover another alien. Bernadette approaches him, and the other is behind them. 9 manages to kill one of the aliens, but the second escapes with Bernadette. They continue on their way, and 10 manages to get one of the high-tech weapons to work. They climb a long staircase and see Bernadette teleported by aliens. They leave her behind and choose Murphy instead. 10K shoots at a UFO with a high-tech weapon, but it quickly shoots back. The weapon flies out of the hands of 10K. Roberta rushes to him and grabs him. She charges it and directs it to the UFO. She manages to prevent the UFO from abducting Murphy and Bernadette. The UFO crashes into the ground and bursts into a fiery explosion. The group approaches the crash site and carefully examines one of the aliens. They take off their helmet and discover that the alien is none other than Scally. The target admits that there are no aliens, and he was going to tell Bernadette the truth as soon as she boarded. He admits that his job was to rescue any technology he could find in the area and he wanted to take Bernadette with him when he left. Scully admits that he was afraid Bernadette would leave with the others. A few seconds later, he dies and is killed by Bernadette. After that, Roberta tries to comfort Bernadette, but Bern admits that he is more worried about others. She also says she doesn't know what to do now. She returns to an agitated Roy, who is full of questions. She tells the others that the aliens told them to wait some more. Meanwhile, Murphy and the team head down the road. Roberta and Vasquez kill a pack of zombies, after which they begin to get romantically close to each other. The couple starts kissing, after which Vasquez turns into a zombie, and Roberta wakes up from her dream. When she returns to reality, we find that Doc has driven the group to the Grand Canyon. Eddie keeps trying to make a walkie-talkie to contact Citizen Z, and then they can figure out what caused the dust storm ahead. With the help of 10K, it is possible to send a radio transmission, but no response is received. We see Citizen Z killing zombies in the Northern Lights. Unfortunately, a few more appear, and Citizen Z becomes stunned. He manages to fight them off, after which he sends messages to our group. The group instructs Citizen Z to resend the coordinates, but he can't find them in a mess. He also tells the group about Storm Z, which is ahead. He tries to convince them to go anyway. Roberto uses a telescope to see a huge horde of zombies in the distance. After joining, the van breaks down. Doc and 10K are left behind, and the rest go in four-wheeled cars. Doc and 10K climb the mountainside, and the rest enter the territory of the tribe. Roberta manages to convince the Indians to let them into the base. Meanwhile, 10K and Doc approach the rock and try to climb over it. Eventually they get to the top and watch the grandeur of the Grand Canyon. A moment later, they are attacked by a man in a raincoat on a horse, and both are subdued. Meanwhile, the others enter the Northern Quest Casino Resort and get acquainted with its leader Danny. After Murphy and Danny have a little argument, Roberto tries to warn Danny about the approaching zombies. Danny doesn't look worried and is confident in his defense. Meanwhile, 10K and Doc were escorted by Red Hawk. Red Hawk admits that they are afraid of white people and their disease, which once in the past destroyed their people. Red Hawk beats up 10K Doc, hoping to get information from them. Doc insists that they are just trying to escape from the horde, and suggests that the Indians do the same. Red Hawk insists that white people are a plague that may be responsible for their murder. Ayala intervenes and stops the bullying, and then takes the couple to the infirmary. Upon arriving there, Kurok takes care of the Doc, and Ayala takes care of 10K. 10K Ayala talks about Red Hawk and his beliefs. Ayala admits that Red Hawk and her brother did not see eye to eye and their discord split the tribe in half. Meanwhile, Eddie sets up the radio with Jerry's help. As soon as the radio starts working, they hear Morse code. Seconds later, we see Citizen Z sending the code. Eddie manages to contact Z, they get the necessary coordinates. Doc got some kind of medicine, from which he completely lost consciousness. The trigger shows Doc the Indian inscriptions on the rock. She insists that her ancestors are among these inscriptions. Returning to the Northern Lights, Citizen Z again goes in search of zombies. Meanwhile, Murphy tries to convince Vasquez and Roberta to leave the ship. Returning to the Indian tribe, 10K Doc are expelled from the Red Hawk camp. On the way, both fall into a trap and Red Hawk confirms that they will be the early alarms of the tribe. Doc remains stoned and useless to 10, who is hung upside down. A few seconds later, a zombie approaches him. Doc uses his mind to transform into an Indian warrior, break out of the net and kill zombies. After a few moments, he returns to the body and insists that they use astral projection. 2 more zombies are returning, and this time the Doc can't help. And Yala saves the couple in the shortest possible time. Next, we see Citizen Z running away from the zombies in fright, and then we return to 10K, who thanks Ayala for her help. Ayala insists that she needs their help to convince people in the casino. The trio heads to the casino on horseback, and Ida and the others manage to establish contact with Citizen Z. Roberta explains to Citizen Z how to use a rocket launcher so that he can finish off the last zombie. The zombie is approaching, while Citizen Z is in a hurry to warm up the batteries. And Yala and the others arrive at the casino and try to reason with Danny. Inside, 10K and Doc are reunited with the others. Finally, Citizen Z manages to kill the zombies. During the celebration, Murphy insists that he feels zombies nearby. Jerry points out the window, and the zombies rush inside after him. As the others prepare to leave, Danny refuses to leave. Danny assigns Ayala to command the others, while he stays behind. Ayala leads the group to the sacred rocks. Ayala and the others watch from afar as the casino building collapses to the ground. After a few moments, they return to the Trigger and the Red Hawk. Ayala breaks the news to Red Hawk, and they grieve together. Red Hawk tells the others that they are welcome here and that they have blocked the only passage. He apologizes to Doc and 10K, after which zombies appear and which they kill. They decide to distract the zombies before Doc asks the question, can zombies be as dumb as buffaloes?
Do you think zombies are as dumb as bison?
The group makes a bonfire and performs tribal songs. Everyone meets again and watches the zombies run straight to the bonfire. Murphy tries to save the zombies, as he insists that they can feel. Instead of running into the fire, Murphy distracts them and forces them to run off the cliff.
Did it work? And even more.
Red Hawk takes everyone back to the camp and says that this event will be remembered for many generations. And Yalek gives 10 Kazashchit beads, and Doc gets something similar from the Trigger, as well as a few more medicines. Eddie and Jerry say goodbye, and Murphy is grieving in the casino van. Despite Murphy's concern, Roberta insists that they should have killed the zombies. She also tells him that in the near future he will have to choose between a human and a zombie.
There will come a day when you will have to decide who you are.
Our heroes are killing zombies together in the Orange Forest. Once the zombies are destroyed, the group approaches a building that appears to be a motel. Roberto tries to open the door, and the others fight off a horde of zombies. Murphy manages to send the zombies in a different direction, and we see a group of survivors inside pondering their next steps. Despite the fears of the others, Iggy rushes forward and prepares to open the door. Once the group is inside, they are greeted by Gideon Gould. The confrontation quickly becomes awkward, so when she grabs a talking stick and forces the others to use it.
It's not a weapon, it's a tool. We call it the orator's rod.
They quickly learn that Gideon is a global expert in corporate communications and the talking stick scheme is his idea. Gideon walks around the room and analyzes each member of the group. Gideon quickly discovers a feud between Murphy and 10K, he also talks about Murphy's excessive responsibility. As soon as Gideon stops talking, Roberta agrees to drop the gun, and Murphy begs for food. Eddie is assigned to be the group speaker, and Gideon and Dana agree to speak for the others. Four speakers begin negotiations. Roberto agrees to leave as soon as possible. EG escorts Doc and 10K, he takes them to the kitchen and offers them something to eat. EG admits that he thought about leaving, but the others always dissuade him. He also shows them where the food is stored.
Cocktail bulbs. Can I? Oh, yes.
Meanwhile, Dana Eddie goes to the roof and examines the satellites, which at the moment seem useless. The couple talks about their history, and Dana admits that some of the previous members were kicked out of the hotel. Next, Vasquez checks the zombies knocking on the door, and Murphy makes an escape. Unfortunately, he is being chased by a member of another group. Meanwhile, Dana tells Eddie about her desire to be on the street.
I wanted so much to get out of the four walls. Breathe in some fresh air.
Eddie admits that she keeps going because she promised to take a friend to California. A few moments later, a shot rings out. The group finds Murphy and Greg injured. Doc examines Murphy and finds he has a severe head wound.
Someone tried to kill our prisoner.
A prisoner? I can't stop the bleeding.
Murphy has a dream and imagines himself falling off a cliff. Roberto and Vasquez are talking in private. Vasquez tells her about the shooting and points out that it should have been someone else, not one of the victims. Doc puts 2 and 2 together and discovers that Greg will most likely turn into Cassandra, since the bullet went through Murphy first.
The bullet went through Murphy's shoulder and hit.
Meanwhile, Gideon is trying to calm down the situation. Roberta quickly accuses them of shooting Murphy, and Mech asks why Vasquez calls Murphy their prisoner. Paul and the others quickly try to pin the blame on 10K. Dana passes the stick to Eddie, who insists that 10 doesn't miss. Then 10 takes a stick and admits that Murphy is not his friend, but he wouldn't kill him right now. Vasquez appears with a large collection of food and puts the blame on one of the others. Vasquez insists that Murphy must have stumbled upon someone's stash of food and was shot for his curiosity. Gideon immediately puts the blame on EG. The rest immediately pounce on the EG. EG denies their accusations. As a result, he beats up Gideon, after which the keys are taken away from him. Washington gets the keys and instructs him to keep an eye on the food. Vasquez is not sure of EG's guilt, but the others push him into the zombie horde anyway. Meanwhile, Murphy remains unconscious. Roberta insists that they will have to hurry with their departure. Doc admits to giving Murphy's blood to another victim who hasn't turned yet. Next, 10K overhears Paul and Meg talking about the changes and the expulsion of EG. Meg and Paul seem to be going to steal the food and deal with 10K and his group.
We need every piece of Kita.
Meanwhile, Gideon apologizes to Roberta and insists that some people leave them no other choice. Gideon insists that the decision was made by the group. After a few seconds, they are interrupted by Meg and Paul. Roberta and Gideon are walking through the corridors, and Roberta asks a question about the empty corridor, which Gideon insists is the site of the outbreak. Gideon apologizes again for the shooting, after which he agrees to bring the group some food. When they come to the kitchen, they find a mess there. Washington appears as a zombie and attacks. He manages to kill Sheila, who transforms, but is eventually killed by Vasquez. Doc confirms that he was attacked by someone he couldn't see. The rest go hunting. Eddie and Dana walk down a dark corridor and hear that there is someone ahead. Someone walks down the hallway with a handful of things, after which two zombies push Eddie and Dana into the nearest closet. Dana begs Eddie to take her with him. A moment later, Roberto and Vasquez appear and kill the zombies. They give chase, avoiding shots. They run into Gideon, who persuades Dana to go with him. Meanwhile, Doc cuts off Murphy's thumb and puts it in the mouth of another victim. The zombies outside are starting to move forward. The glass starts to crack. Roberta runs into Doc and finds out that Murphy hasn't woken up yet. Eventually, the zombies break in, and everyone is trapped with Murphy. A few moments later, a quarrel begins. Roberta manages to shut everyone up, and Gideon tries to convince them that they can sort things out. Doc manages to wake up Greg, who confesses that Travis shot him. Travis calls Dana and tells her it's time to get out of here. Dana admits that she didn't want anyone to get hurt before Travis and Greg were killed. Gideon tries to get Roberta to leave, but she refuses until Murphy is ready to leave. Someone starts knocking on the door. When the door opens, bloodied pigs enter it. Gideon apologizes to EG, who continues to get angry. EG attacks Gideon with a stick, after which Murphy finally wakes up. The zombies outside turn away and head in the other direction. At the exit, EG thanks Robert and the group. This Meg agrees that he will go on the road and take a chance. Dana says goodbye to Edie and tells her that she hopes to see her face again.
These people are nuts. It's a corporation, man.
The zombie catches the drone and smashes it on the ground. Moments later, Vasquez and the rest of the group appear and charge at the zombies. We see that Murphy is still injured and is slowing the group down a bit. The group is surrounded, and Murphy tries to distract the zombies, but he fails. Zeros appear and save the group, after which Scorpio directs them to a safe place. Despite his luck, the Scorpion quickly takes the group hostage. Roberta tries to prevent Scorpion from stealing Murphy, and somehow she succeeds. Murphy shows off his scars and confirms his identity. The Scorpion guarantees the group's safety if they lower their weapons. They obey. A Scorpion demonstrates his new energy generation system, and this gives Murphy a bad feeling. A moment later, Escaprin brings the group to Mexico and confirms that he has been spying on the group for a long time. Roberta goes to meet Queen Lorraine. When she is introduced to the group, the Queen quickly thanks Roberta for bringing Murphy to her. She admits that she sent a large group of people to capture Murphy, but they all failed. The group is forced to surrender their weapons. Eddie and Roberta decide to stay alive and try to escape with Murphy in tow. Lorraine shows the group around and informs them that she has an abundance of resources. She tells Murphy that they managed to survive for a reason. She insists that she will deliver the vaccine to people, and her doctor is very close to discovering a breakthrough. She lacks only one ingredient: Murphy's blood. The group stays in a makeshift clinic and is quickly reunited with Dr. Curran. Curran admits that he was brought here to atone for his mistakes in Colorado. Roberta agrees not to kill the doctor, as she no longer has a gun. Lorraine talks about the group's skill and asks Roberta why she won't take revenge on Curran. Roberta admits that Dr. Curran may be the only one who could potentially create a cure. Lorraine sympathizes with Roberta's situation, her desire to kill Dr. Curran, but then insists that Murphy is going to sacrifice himself for the salvation of all mankind. Murphy doesn't like it, and he expresses his concerns. Dr. Curran agrees to work more carefully. In the end, they are left alone, and Curran admits that he told them to look for Murphy. Meanwhile, Lorraine is trying to negotiate with Roberta and her group. She suggests sending them back to the world or hiding here with the Zeros. Roberta wonders if her suggestion is too good to be true. Lorraine insists that the choice depends only on them, after which she turns around. When she turns around, Vasquez tells Roberta to accept the offer. On Vasquez's advice, Roberta tells the Queen that they have agreed to stay. Lorraine admits that they must first undergo an examination, after which bags will be thrown over their heads. Meanwhile, Murphy forces Dr. Curran to admit that he is not capable of making a vaccine. The rest are thrown into a pit, and Scorpio tells them that they will be forced to fight zombies. He admits that the last survivor will be allowed to join their ranks. The first round begins, and a zombie appears. Eddie quickly deals with him. The Scorpion announces the start of the last round, and a large horde of zombies approaches the gate. Before they are released, a Scorpion offers to do them a favor, and Vasquez has a flashback. Flashbacks show how Vasquez's family is being killed. He also sees a tattoo on the killer's arm. Scorpio turns off the light and orders the gate to be opened. When the lights turn back on, all the zombies are dead, and Roberta and the group are finally allowed to join the club. Next, we see how Dr. Curran sneaks up to Zero and injects him with the vaccine. He returns the man to the clinic, and he tries to attack Murphy. Murphy manages to control a man who mimics his every move. After a few seconds he falls to the ground and he kills him. Meanwhile, the others are treated like gods and goddesses. As soon as the group gathers, and Scorpio pays them a visit and orders them to go with him, Vasquez finds out that it is also the Scorpion that killed his family by identifying his tattoo. The group's heads are covered with bags, after which they are transported to the party. The Queen goes out on the balcony and addresses her people. She introduces Murphy and praises him as a miracle, and then thanks Roberta and her group. She also confirms that they will become members of the group tonight, as their weapons will be returned to them. Left alone, Roberta asks Vasquez about the tattoo, and he admits that he must take revenge. Vasquez refuses to continue the mission and adamantly insists on killing the Scorpion. The party continues, and Vasquez tracks down his victim. Roberto finally makes his way to Murphy and asks what Curran did. Murphy admits that they can drink and have fun, as they will most likely die tomorrow. Vasquez sneaks up to the Scorpion from behind and prepares to shoot. All the members of the group watch as Roberto disarms Vasquez and puts him to sleep. Roberta is quickly called the Queen's Savior. A Scorpion agrees to make Vasquez talk, and he is taken away. Vasquez is taken away and his wrist is tied. A Scorpion confronts him and starts torturing him. Vasquez admits twice that he did not try to kill the Queen. A Scorpion is interrupted and tells him the good news. Unfortunately, he remains relentless and continues to torture Vasquez. Meanwhile, 10K, Doc and Eddie are trying to come up with a plan. Eddie agrees to talk to Roberta, but she is stopped when Curry enters and announces that he has medicine. He reveals the cure for the zombie H.1Z1. Vasquez leads as a volunteer for the vaccine. Curry prepares to give Vasquez an injection, and that's where the episode ends. Vasquez contains a pistol at the head and a neck needle. Roberta tries to persuade Lorraine to let him leave. She manages to convince the Queen to get Dr. Ken to try the vaccine. Dr. Curran tries to pass it on to Lorraine, but in the end he is forced to inject himself. He falls to the ground, after which Lorraine orders him to be killed. A few moments later, he gets up again and insists that he is fine. To test the vaccine, a zombie bites him. Surprisingly, Dr. Curran does not apply. A moment later, he gives Lorraine an injection. Lorraine quickly credits Roberta with saving the world. She tries to convince Roberta to take the vaccine next, but Murphy tries to prevent it. Lorraine insists, then he agrees to administer Roberta's vaccine himself. He injects the vaccine past, but Scorpio also speaks up and insists that outsiders cannot be trusted. A Scorpion insists that Roberta wants to harm the Queen, and also asks for more time to interrogate Vasquez. He is given this time, and Vasquez is taken again and beaten. Meanwhile, Curran injects most of the zeros. Doc 10 to Edie try to find out the truth from Murphy, who confirms that Roberty was not injected. Lorraine announces that she feels strong, and then orders Curran and Murphy to make more vaccines so that the whole world is safe. Roberta tells the other three to find you austerities, and she goes after Murphy. Back at the clinic, Curran reports that the zeros are now under Murphy's control. Curran does not like the idea that he himself has also become a victim.
Now under your control. They're your new army.
Meanwhile, Vasquez continues to be beaten. Finally, he admits that he also needs a Scorpio. After Vasquez exhaustingly recounts the situation and Scorpio admits that he should have killed him too, Vasquez refuses to hand over to Robert. After a little skirmish, Scorpio orders Vasquez to be untied. Meanwhile, Lorraine and Roberta talk about the future and drink together. She tells about her friend who died during the apocalypse.
To the end of the apocalypse.
Back at the clinic, Curran is working to reverse the effects of the drug. Murphy controls his arm and refuses to let him fix his condition. A few minutes later, Roberta sneaks up on them and discovers that Murphy is completely in control of the doctor.
Seriously? Is this possible?
They begin to mock the chicken and order him to bring them drinks. Meanwhile, Vasquez finds himself locked in a cage with zombies. A Scorpion talks to him and insists that they are exactly the same. Roberta finds out about Murphy's plan and discovers that he may or may not go to California. She quickly wonders why she hasn't had an injection, but doesn't get a definite answer. Then Roberta meets with the others again and explains Murphy's problem. Roberta insists that they are heading to California anyway, even if they have to use force to take Murphy away. She also admits that they need to get Vasquez back before they make their escape. With this, they are preparing to put their plan into action.
We'll get him out.
Meanwhile, a Scorpion tells Vasquez about his son, after which he leaves. Roberta is also led away by a strange Zero in a mask. Both are being summoned by Lorraine. A Scorpion insists that the group was involved in a plot to assassinate the Queen. Roberta is trying to get out of a difficult situation. She does this by telling about Vasquez's plan to take revenge on Scorpio as well. A Scorpion asks if he should get rid of Roberta. Murphy takes control of Lorraine and manipulates her response. A Scorpion is held at gunpoint and led away thanks to Murphy. She orders Roberta to kill the Scorpion as well. Despite a small confrontation between Roberto and Murphy, and Scorpio was spared, Murphy tells Roberty they're ready. Roberta also orders Scorpio to take her to Vasquez. As soon as they leave, Curran appears and seems to turn into a zombie. A few seconds later, Lorraine does the same. Unfortunately, Murphy is unable to control them. He spills his own blood on the floor to distract them, avoids them. Together with Curran. Meanwhile, 10K and the others are preparing to rescue Vasquez when both Scorpio and Robert appear. Vasquez is saved, and a Scorpion is put in his place. The group begins to run away, and Murphy takes Curran back to the lab. Curry tries to suck the blood out of Murphy's hand, but Roberto sneaks up behind him and quickly kills him. After that, Murphy gives up and admits that he is finally ready to go to California. Murphy quickly changes clothes and prepares to leave. 10K and Doc takes Vasquez out. Finally, the others catch up with them. Unfortunately, Lorraine and her army are right behind them. Roberta gives Murphy permission to release the zombie, and he does it. Lorraine and her army are trying to fight off the zombies, while the rest make an escape. Roberta is forced to return for Murphy. After a few seconds, he approaches them. Meanwhile, Vasquez and the others successfully escape. Murphy tells Roberta that the zombies were treated incorrectly, after which she takes his hand and pulls him to the exit. Roberta and Murphy run away when zombies have invaded everything around. A few seconds later, a bloody scorpion appears and collides with Vasquez. Vasquez gets into a fight with a scorpion. 10 tries to help, but Robert stops him. Scorpion beats up Vasquez for a while, but then Vasquez remembers his family. Vasquez takes revenge and throws a scorpion into a pit with zombies. After that, the group sets off. They find cool cars. Everyone chooses a car, starts it, and the group sets off. On the way, 10 notices a drone chasing him and knocks him down. At the end of the episode, a man appears near Curran's head, whom he remembers. He talks to them, after which a woman's hand wraps around his face. We see Citizen Z in the past as a prisoner. He is questioned about a plea bargain, but his lawyer interrupts him and refuses to give him the floor. He does not intend to agree to their offer and runs into an employee of NB. Citizen Z is offered a job at AEBI. In exchange, all charges will be dropped. He is surprised to learn that his new mission will involve zombies.
Even your lawyer shouldn't know.
After that, we jump forward and see how Citizen Z is trying to access files on his computer. Unfortunately, the file is blocked. He cannot access the file even with a password and immediately decides that he has been hacked. Next we see Roberta and the team. It looks like they have a problem with the vehicle. Unable to reach their destination, the group is forced to walk. In response to questions, Eddie admits that the destination is still a few days away. Along the way, we remember past Roberts. She receives an order to send her entire unit to Trend. When questioned, she admits that she has no idea why this is necessary. Frightened by the noise, Roberta discovers a chaotic scene outside. In the wrecked ambulance, she discovers zombies.
I'm going to get help.
She returns to the house and can't contact anyone. She has to kill several zombies, after which we return to the present.
This is a common global alarm.
The group continues its hike. They take a break when Murphy admits he's getting sick.
I'm not feeling well.
We can take a break.
After an inspection, Eddie discovers that they are at Disneyland. After this discovery, they continue on their way. We jump back in time and see Doc's past. We see the doc talking to the client. During their conversation, a man bursts into the door and interrupts the conversation. Doc follows the man. He finds a man who is trying to attack one of his colleagues. Doc subdues the man and calms him down.
No more hysteria. I'm sorry, for God's sake.
When he returns to his patient, Doc discovers that the man was attacked by a zombie. Doc manages to lock the zombie outside, but his patient attacks. In the end, he locks both of them outside. When he regains consciousness and returns to the street, he discovers that his colleagues are dead, and terror reigns in the city. A few moments later, we return to the present, and the group continues to walk to their destination. Citizen Z visits his server and tries to find out who hacked it. Next we see Eddie's first day. We see her attending a hockey game. The zombie interrupts the hockey fight, and Eddie runs away.
Fuck off, I'm serious.
She eventually runs into Mac and saves him from the zombies. The couple is trying to get out of the stadium. In the end, they agree to go to Eddie's house, after which they leave the building. We're going back to the present. The group sets up camp for the night, and 10K witnesses a large flock of birds. We go back in time and see the first day of 10K, we see 10 fishing and walking through the forest. In the forest, he stumbles upon a strange woman. She turns out to be a zombie ranger. A few more people appear and 10K descends in pursuit through the forest. He crashes into a tree and rolls down a hill. When he wakes up, he is surrounded by zombies. His father saves him, and together they deal with the zombies. We're going back to the present. Citizen Z continues to work on revealing the identity of the hacker. Then it's time to find out the background of Vasquez. Vasquez attends his family's funeral. He is mourning his family, but then he is interrupted by strange sounds. His wife's coffin begins to sway, and then zombies enter it and attack. After a short struggle, Vasquez manages to get rid of the zombies. A few seconds later, his wife and daughter come out of the coffin. We return to the present, and the group takes shelter underground for the night. Murphy reflects on his current situation and his past.
How did I end up here?
He admits that he does not want to be the savior of the world and would rather die like everyone else. We see Murphy in prison playing poker with his fellow prisoners. A newcomer joins their poker game. As a result of a fight in the background, their game stops. A dead prisoner turns into a zombie. Murphy uses this opportunity to escape, forcing another prisoner to stay inside and be sit-in. We jump into the present and see Roberta trying to comfort Murphy. Despite Murphy's pleas to escape, Roberta admits that she has to take him to California. However, she promises to ensure his safety. The zombies have finally passed, and the group is preparing to continue their journey. Meanwhile, Citizen Z continues to track down the hacker. He discovers that the hacker is in Hawaii. It turns out that hackers have been using Citizen Z to spy on Murphy all this time. Citizen Z immediately destroys the server. The group continues its hike. Eventually they reach the Pacific Ocean and discover a makeshift laboratory.
Maybe there are bounty hunters roaming around. I don't want you to be recognized.
Vasquez and Roberto go inside to check out the place. They run inside and Auntie offers them tea.
To be continued.
Citizen Z is standing over a fire in a barrel and burning documents, trying to contact Operation Betty Mark to inform them that they have to abandon the mission. After receiving no response, his last battery runs out, after which he throws the headset and everything else into the flames and leaves, commenting that all good things should end. Back in California, Roberta and Vasquez are at the Rest and End Lounge restaurant and talking with their aunt, the owner of the establishment. After inspecting the place, Roberta waves Doc, Eddie, 10K and Murphy to come inside. Everyone makes their way inside. Murphy hides under a suit of women's clothing. They talk about what is happening in the country with Auntie. The moment she asks them why they are in California, they hear the sound of a car pulling up. This is a group of bounty hunters. The bounty hunters come in and tell Auntie that they've heard that she's the one to talk to about Murphy. They have zombies, which, according to them, is Murphy, and they offer everyone a drink, as they are going to get their reward and want to celebrate. Murphy is sitting in a booth when one of the bounty hunters tries to hit on him and asks him to dance. Murphy tries to brush him off without words, but the zombies they have imitate his actions, which causes the main suspicion. He demands that Murphy take the scarf off his face because his fake zombie Murphy repeats his movement. A bounty hunter points a gun at Murphy, and everyone points a gun at people from another group. Murphy stands up and reveals his face. At the moment when the head bounty hunter demands that Murphy take off the dress he is wearing to examine him for bites, their fake zombie Murphy attacks the bounty hunter and bites him. The rest of the survivors, taking advantage of the opportunity, shoot the entire group of bounty hunters. As soon as the shooting stops, 10K asks for help. They find him on the floor, bleeding from a gunshot wound to the stomach. While Doc tries to help 10K, Auntie makes sure that he really is Murphy. She goes outside and starts a signal fire to contact the Center for Disease Control, which, it turns out, is based on a submarine. At the Northern Light Camp, Citizen Z loads a dog sled with supplies. He puts on a harness and starts pulling the team. 2 military men show up in California to take Murphy to the submarine. Captain Matheson asks Dr. Murch to come to verify Murphy's identity. At first she says she doesn't recognize him, but when he shouts the same words about eating her brains as the last time they saw each other, she confirms that it's him. The military collects the 10K and loads it into one of the cars while Murphy says goodbye to everyone. Doc insists on hugging him. Before Roberta allows them to take him away, she makes sure that they will treat him like a human being, as he is. They assure her that he will be treated with respect, and she pats his cheek. They leave, and the group goes to the house to help Auntie clean up the corpses. During their last trip with the bodies, someone shoots at them with pistols. The group takes cover behind several cars. Vasquez inspects the car and tells them it's the Zeros, led by a now completely distraught Lorraine. They are pinned to the ground until Auntie appears from behind and covers them with her machine gun. They rush inside and check their weapons, but realize they are almost out of ammo. Auntie presses the lever and a rack of weapons appears behind the counter. They are all loading weapons and trying to prepare for the attack of Zeros. On the submarine, Murphy learns that the crew belongs to a society consisting mainly of billionaires and former world leaders who currently live on a zombie-free island called the Zone. Murphy notices that everyone on the submarine has strange glowing eyes. Dr. Murch explains that this is a side effect of the first vaccine, which only slows down the effect of the virus. Currently, it also doesn't work and is slowly turning everyone into zombies. Murphy is strapped in, and Dr. Murch starts asking him medical questions. He is embarrassed and asks her to get rid of the two soldiers in the room. As soon as they leave, Dr. Murch turns around and sees Murphy standing right in front of her. He tells her that he is not going to treat a bunch of rich people, and informs her that he is going to do what he should have done a long time ago. Meanwhile, a big shootout takes place in Auntie's restaurant, during which Auntie turns into a zombie, and Doc shows her mercy. Eddie fights a man with a staff, and her bat is completely broken in half. She uses the broken off upper part with spikes to hit the guy fighting her in the groin, which gives Roberta the opportunity to shoot him in the head. Lorraine arrives, and she and Roberta fight until Lorraine is about to kill Roberta, but the Scorpion also stabs her in the neck from behind. Returning to the North Pole, Citizen Z barely pulls the sled forward. He stops and looks straight ahead, his face covered in frost, unable to move on. A Scorpion apologizes to Vasquez for killing his family and says he can take revenge if he wants. However, he also wants him to know that the Scorpion died when he was thrown into a zombie. He, like Hector, wants to try to make amends for all the atrocities that Scorpio also committed. Vasquez spares Scorpio's life, after which Robert and Vasquez talk at the bar, and after Robert goes out and goes into the woods. As they walk to the beach, Robert, Doc and Eddie are stopped by Hector. He invites them to join him. He has enough food, water, and grass cartridges to last a month. They agree to go with Eddie, telling Roberta, if necessary, we will kill him and take the truck. When the group arrives at the beach, they discover that the submarine is sinking. Looking through the scope, Roberta sees that Murphy got out of the submarine and is now rushing to shore in a speedboat along with Dr. Murch, Captain Matheson and several soldiers. However, neither she nor Doc can see Tenka on the boat. At this moment, two planes fly overhead and Doc says that they are not American. Suddenly, the team is surrounded by Chinese soldiers. On the boat, Dr. Murch and Captain Matheson have Murphy's bites on their cheeks, and Murphy resolutely drives the boat with a heavy expression on his face. At the North Pole, Citizen Z is standing almost completely frozen when someone in a heavy coat approaches him. Murphy's little daughter, Lucy, is having a tea party with zombies that have quickly grown to the size of a 4 to 5-year-old child. When one of the zombies drops his cup, she tells him a bad zombie, while continuing to giggle.